In 2005, the action comedy Mr. and Mrs. Smith was released, becoming one of the highest-grossing films of the year. The film tells the story of Jane and John Smith, a seemingly ordinary couple whose relationship has become boring after years of marriage. Unbeknownst to each other, they are both highly skilled assassins working for competing agencies. When their secret lives are exposed, they are tasked with eliminating each other. Although a story of a married couple of secret agents sounds entirely fabricated and pulled right from fiction, Mr. and Mrs. Smith screenwriter Simon Kinberg drew inspiration from a very personal source for the story. With its intense drama, gripping action, and sexy fight scenes, it's easy to forget that Mr. and Mrs. Smith begins with a dull, awkward therapy session. Yet this unassuming beginning becomes a crucial window into their lives and the state of their marriage at the start of the movie. This juxtaposition mirrors how they navigate their double lives and how it has reached a point where it is unsustainable, prompting them to seek therapy. Mr. and Mrs. Smith uses everyday domestic issues, such as a partner's coat left on the floor, or enduring years of questionable cooking, as comedic fodder. Jane and John's mundane arguments, while seemingly trivial compared to their high-stakes jobs, cleverly amplify the underlying tension between them, making the characters more relatable to the audience. Kinberg's inspiration for writing Mr. and Mrs. Smith didn't come from history books or spy novels. During an interview with Sid Field in 2010, Kinberg talked about how he was struggling to come up with a thesis for his MFA while studying at Columbia University.
You have to, declare what your thesis is going to be for the subsequent years. And for screenwriters, it's a feature screenplay, and it's trying to come up with an idea.
One night, he went out for dinner with some friends who were a recently married couple, and they opened up to Kinberg about attending couples therapy and what it was like for them.
I was actually out to dinner with some friends of mine who were married and hadn't been married long, and they were very open with me and started talking about how they were in marriage therapy. And the more they started talking about marriage therapy, the more they started describing their therapist's language, things like you have to stay laser focused. It sounded a little mercenary.
This conversation provided the main source of inspiration for Kinberg, and eventually, the original screenplay for Mr. and Mrs. Smith became his final thesis project.
And I just thought, what a delicious idea for a movie if my version of marriage therapy is about a husband and wife trying to kill each other and in the process falling back in love.
By drawing inspiration from the real-life experiences of his married friends, Kinberg was able to create a metaphor for a marriage that was on the brink of falling apart, but could recover by confronting and addressing its issues head-on. If it wasn't for Simon Kinberg's dinner with his married friends, who knows if we ever would have gotten Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie's epic spy movie that rippled through Hollywood in more ways than one.